Trying to buy a movie ticket, that's what's happening. Because I love the cinema. Okay, might not happen. Okay, that's your interview. Okay. What we take for granted is that Caymanians are natural storytellers. I think everyone has them in their family. So for me, growing up here led to a very natural inclination towards entertainment because my family was entertaining. My mother was wonderful, God rest her soul. She encouraged us in a lot of our passions. I wasn't sure if I was even going to go to college. I was enjoying life in Cayman. I was working at Z99 Radio. I was working at the TV station and, kind of enjoying that. And we went to a college tour in Los Angeles because secretly I wanted to be an actor. So I thought, all right, well, if I can get my parents to support me going to college, then I can go to auditions on the weekend, drop out of school, be famous, don't have to worry about it. And so I applied to schools in that area. So we looked at UCLA, we looked at USC, University of Southern California, and they had an incredible film program, but it was one of the most competitive ones to get into. So I applied normally, and I just started kind of as an undecided business school major. And then after the first semester, I got the letter saying that I got accepted into the film school. And so from there, I saw that John Singleton was teaching a course. And John was one of my heroes as a filmmaker. He got nominated as a young man for directing Boys in the Hood, first African-American director to be nominated for an Oscar in directing. And I remember, kind of stealing into his class. John encouraged me to get into directing. And the thing about directing is interesting. He said, you could spend 15 years trying to get a movie made. So you should find out, one, if you like directing, and two, if you're good at it. And so that came up with the idea of doing a short film, and not a short film like a one-man band short film like we were doing, but with a crew. We were able to translate a story that actually happened at my high school. There was a kid who had been smuggling drugs. His mom would drop him off in the morning, and some guys would pick him up, and he would apparently fly to Miami for the day and come back by the time his mom got home from work. And I didn't know this personally at the time, but I heard about it when he got caught. And I was like, what a fascinating story. He was just walking around high school living this double life that, must have been scary, but also exhilarating. I mean, I couldn't imagine. So that was the story I chose to tell. And we just transplanted from Cayman to the States. And that was kind of fun. And I did it, and I enjoyed doing it. I loved doing it. I loved the way the film came out. Other people did too. We went to Sundance, we won this award from HBO, and that sort of jump-started my career and gave me the validation to say, all right, I can do this thing and I can keep pushing. The films that I was getting offered, or the scripts that I was getting, were below feature film directors, below commercial directors, below music video directors, because music videos back then were like $5 million. So a lot of those people were making transitions. I went into Miramax for a general, and I sat with Robbie Brenner. Robbie is incredible. She's now, became one of my best friends. I'm the godfather to her children. She just produced Barbie, which was a huge success. And she said, I'm gonna give you some advice. She says, you seem cool. We have this kindred spirit connection. And she was like, you need to make a feature film as if it was the only one that you're gonna make. And so I went home that weekend, I took a case of Red Bull and my old computer, and I wrote Haven, a first draft in like 3 days. And I wait back to her Monday, and I was like, what do you think about this? And she's like, wait, did you write that in a weekend? And it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. And she goes, if you can do that in a weekend, yes. She goes, and she said, not only do I think you should make this movie, but I'm going to quit my job and help you raise the financing to make this movie. And she did. And it changed my life. Making independent films is difficult, if not impossible, and it still is, right? That part has never changed. And someone would say, like, making independent film is like falling in love in the morning, getting your heart broken in the afternoon, and then crying yourself to sleep at night and waking up the next day and doing it all over again. So we were out there hustling. We're trying to get it in the hands of talent, and we were attaching different actors, doing rewrites for the actors. So I remember it was my birthday. We flew to Puerto Rico for a location scout because Puerto Rico had this great tax rebate incentive program. I was so depressed. It was like the saddest birthday. And I was in the back of this car, and it should have been the happiest because we were location scouting. And Robbie looked back and she goes, I go, Robbie, I don't know if I can make this movie if I don't do it at home. Less than like 2 weeks later, we got a call from Orlando Bloom's agent, or manager, who's also my manager, and she said, Orlando really loves your movie. So I went and sat with him, and he said, listen, I think you're great. I think you're going to be a great filmmaker. I wish I could be in your movie, but the role that I think is really interesting is this role that Victor Rasuka is playing. So I went home that weekend. I was like, man, I wonder if I could swap it around. So I called Victor. I said, Victor, I promise you, I'll make this role interesting. But once again, got a case of Red Bull, got my old Sony laptop out, or not a laptop, it was a desktop, and rewrote the entire script in 2 days and sent it to Orlando. And he was on a photo shoot, and he said, man, this ain't perfect, but if you can do this in 2 days, I'll do your movie. So and he'd do it for no money. And so that gave us enough value to basically shoot anywhere we want. So they're like, you want to shoot in Cayman Islands? You have Orlando Bloom, you can do whatever you want. And so I flew to New York the next day, did 1 day of casting where we met Zoe Saldana, and she was incredible. Again, it was just such a miracle because people came together, and the powers that be, the government of the day, went into Parliament and basically said, hey, here's a young man who has a dream and he wants to do this, and he's a son of the soil, and we shouldn't stop him, we should let him do it. Chartered a plane full of gear, and it was kind of a beautiful, emotional day because my dad, one of his companies at the airport, so he was like, so great to see like a plane coming in that was his son's film that he was offloading, and there were so many moments like that. The same night the film premiered was the same night that Ivan hit Cayman Islands. So it was just this bittersweet, emotional night of, getting in a car and going to this premiere where, Orlando Bloom was, was pandemonium. It was just like a girl fainted. It was that insane. And, you're in the car on the phone, trying to talk to my grandparents who are about to lose power and talking about, this is a horrible storm and it's going to hit us. And then we went to the premiere and going back to the hotel room and seeing, a lot of Caymanians had flown up for the premiere. It's like, you should look at the Weather Channel. So we went back to the hotel room, we were all crying because the Weather Channel was like, oh, the island has disappeared off the map. I mean, it was September 11th, 2004 was the night of the screening. And, seeing the destruction and realizing that some of the stuff we had filmed didn't exist anymore and may never exist again. And some of the stuff never got rebuilt, right? And so there was all that kind of complexity and emotion to it. And so by the time we showed it, it was really interesting. I think there was an excitement about it because all the stars came down and they really wanted to promote it. I think the island was just bouncing back. We showed it in 2006. So things were coming back together. There was this kind of healing. And, to take Robbie's advice is like, if this is the only movie I ever get to make, was it worth it? And yeah, that to me, I was like, great. I was able, with our team to capture a moment in time and to look on a big screen, for younger people who wanted to be filmmakers and go, oh, look, there is my island. And there are people with actual Caymanian people up there with international movie stars on the big screen. I don't know, for me, that was a gift that I never had. I saw The Firm, just seeing that opened my mind up that it was possible. I was like, look at Tom Cruise, the biggest star on the earth, shooting in our island. And I hope, Haven would do the same. Man, God is good. I'm blessed, and I thank God every day for the talent and for the opportunities that I've been given, because it really is a miracle anytime a movie gets made. And this year has been particularly incredible because we have 2 films that I've written on that are finally coming to light. When you're doing a biopic, you do have some constraints in terms of things that happen, but you're also, at least for me, you're dealing with a human being who has friends and families and children. If LeBron and his friends don't love this movie when it's done, if the Marley family doesn't love this movie when it's done, then I've done a disservice. I have to tell an entertaining story, an entertaining biopic, but I also want to be respectful of the people that I'm trying to portray or whose story I'm bringing to life, the sacrifices they've been through, the struggles, the reason why we are telling their stories, right? Because film has a funny way of rewriting history. So you have to be careful as well. 8, 9 years, since I sold the pitch with the team, with Maverick and LeBron and Rachel Winter and Terrence Winter, who's one of my, a guy I look up to, and actually he wrote in The Sopranos, he wrote Wolf of Wall Street, and he actually wound up co-writing the Marley film with me, and it's just such an honor because he's a young veteran. For both those projects, it was an honor to be able to contribute in some small way to someone's legacy and some people who have touched so many people and have achieved so many great things. For both of them share that they didn't just do it for themselves, but they did it for their hometown. For our Caymanian people, I think it's important to just remember that we are storytellers. We are some of the greatest storytellers. We're entertainers by nature. We have a unique point of view, a way of seeing the world that most people don't get the privilege of having, because we have this incredibly diverse society. We have this incredibly peaceful society. It's not perfect. There's still poverty. There's still all the pathos and drama and pitfalls that any other place has, but we're able to see it in such a way because of our connectivity. We're able to witness someone's entire story for generations, and that community spirit, that connection to God, all the things that make us Caymanian, make us poised and deserving of having a voice on the global stage. And I think if there's anything that I could tell people, it is, be ready to suffer for your art, but connect to what you want to say and realize that it is valid, that the world is ready to hear it, and it might not happen right away, but you got to keep pushing, and we have to keep working together and creating an infrastructure that, God willing, one day we can make films here on this island through our point of view without having to go out and raise money or dumb it down or, go through the cog in the machine that it takes to get any of these things made. Hopefully one day we're able to come in and make pure stories in cinema, whether it's documentaries or short films or narrative films, TV shows, whatever format and medium, that's secondary. It's about that essence and that seed of storytelling, which is alive here. And we just have to stay the course and hope that we can build an infrastructure that allows it to be possible, because it's not like painting, right? It's not like you can go, with writing, yes, and I encourage every young filmmaker to write and to force yourself to learn how to write, because that's the one thing you can do anywhere. You can sit in front of your computer anywhere in the world and you can write. The Bible was written in prison. Martin Luther King, Tupac, people wrote life-changing, world-affirming documents with a pen and paper in a prison cell. We have a lot more than that. So the first thing is cultivating that, learning to write, being not afraid to fail, investing in the people around you, the people who inspire you, the people who you trust, because one day they're going to be the great ones and they're going to help make you great. And then the next phase of that is obviously building enough of a community and a crew that we can help tell each other's stories. We can help lift them up. If you look at Spike Lee's early work, they used to call it Spike Lee Summer Camp. You get the same crew and the same actors, and he would just make little films every summer. And then they became big films, and then he became, one of the icons of cinema. And I think we have that opportunity as well. And so I look forward to being around, for that process and helping in any way I can, whether it be by example or by, not making the mistakes I did, or just, again, providing that opportunity that you can look up on a screen and say like, wow, all right, I can do that. Someone's touched that. I can do that too. And hopefully they'll do more,